If nobody's wished you a happy new year, let me be the first to say happy new year. We all have New Year's resolutions, don't we? We all think that this is a great time to have a fresh start in some of the things that we're dealing with. So I decided to title this podcast New Year, New You. And there are several New Year's resolutions that actors commonly make, along with reasons they may not work as hoped. All coming up on this episode of Casting Actors Cast, the podcast for actors from a casting director.
This is Casting Actors Cast. Jeffrey Dreisbach brings you insights and inspiration. Make a difference in your acting and your acting career. Here's Jeffrey Dreisbach.
Well, hello and welcome to today's episode of Casting Actors Cast. I'm Jeffrey Dreisbach with McCorkle Casting in New York. How are you? I hope you're having a good day. I'm having a good day and looking forward to sharing this episode on the New Year resolution issues that have come up both in my life, and I know many actors love to do these resolutions. So I thought, well, let's take some common resolutions that people make for the new year and why they sometimes might not be the healthiest way to go. But first, this is that moment of the podcast where I get to say thank you for tuning in. Please check out Casting Actors Cast, all one word.com. There's all kinds of stuff there. There's some free stuff. There's some books. There's some classes that I teach. All that stuff is there. I'm really excited about my new book called Jeff's Jots. You can find and get yourself a copy there. Also, if you fill out that form that says dive into the talent pool, it's going to open up a whole bunch of stuff as well. All right, that's enough of the housekeeping for today. Let's talk about those New Year's resolutions that actors make, the things that we tell ourselves, and the things that could potentially go wrong as we discuss some of these resolutions. So the first one is, I'll book my dream role this year. Have you ever said that? This is the year I'm going to book that dream job. Here's why it often more likely doesn't work, because this goal depends on factors outside the actor's control, such as casting decisions, industry trends, and competition. You see, a dream role might also just simply require years of networking and preparation, rather than materializing in one calendar year. I hope that makes sense. And I'm not out to crush anyone's dreams or anyone's spirit. But sometimes we make resolutions as a kind of fantasy projection. Also, the trend of people trying to manifest that kind of success. Now, I have nothing against it. In fact, I do try and manifest a lot of stuff in my life. But I'm very careful to do it in the right way. Not necessarily asking for the dream role, but I ask for those things that can help me get to the level of success I'm hoping for. That's kind of a different way to approach it. All right, let's check out another resolution that I've heard and maybe I've even said in the past. I'm going to go to every audition I'm called for. Right? Have you said that? Have you? Well, if you have, you're not alone. Making a commitment to your auditions is one thing, and that's very commendable. But here's why it doesn't work. You see, actors often underestimate the demands of life and day jobs, of travel, or there's family responsibilities that make attending every audition unrealistic. So be careful about overcommitting, because overcommitting can lead to burnout or, spreading yourself too thin. So again, it's a matter of taking a step back and say, to the best of your ability, you're going to try to make every audition you're called upon to do. But be realistic. It's just setting yourself up, I think, for disappointment if you are putting yourself in that kind of a position to say you're going to make everyone that's there. Because you know what? That's probably not going to happen. So don't set yourself up. All right, let's move on from there, talking about resolutions and why they might not be the best thing for you. Here's one. I'll post on social media every day to grow my brand. Have you said that? Here's why that doesn't work most of the time. Consistent posting requires planning and creativity and time. So actors might lose momentum when content ideas run out, or engagement drops, or the pressure to appear perfect becomes overwhelming. It's also easy to prioritize auditions and performances over social media upkeep. So be very careful about overestimating what you're capable of, because life and circumstances can sometimes get in the way, and that would set you in a pattern of feeling disappointed. And that's not a healthy place to be, especially if it happens frequently. Here's another one. Actors say this, I think. I'll take every class and workshop I can find. I'm going to take every class that's out there this year. Well, I hope that's kind of common sense why it doesn't work. But this resolution is very, very ambitious, but can be very costly and very time-consuming, to say the least. You see, without a clear focus, actors risk enrolling in classes that don't simply align with their goals, and it leaves them feeling overworked and underprepared. Don't let that happen to you. My suggestion is set yourself up with a few classes and a few alternative classes that are equally useful and interesting for you to consider. And so as you compile the list, make sure you're checking off those things that you really believe are going to be useful for you in your career. For example, if you want to do more commercial work, then by all means, take an improv class. I think improv is probably the number one kind of class for you to take if you're interested in setting yourself up for some commercial consideration. Just by the same token, if you're going to be kind of focused on a film and television career, then by all means, consider taking a class with a casting director who casts for film and television. That specific skill set from that professional has a twofold increase in focus and attention. One is that you're learning the new skill. Two, you're developing and growing a relationship with a casting director who might, I said might, be in a position to help you. I think that makes perfect sense. But overextending is not realistic. It's not healthy, and of course, it can be a little expensive. So be careful about that. Here's another one. I'll save enough money to quit my survival job. I've heard that one before. Here's why that doesn't work. The unpredictable nature of acting income makes this resolution really challenging. You know that unexpected expenses or slow periods in the industry can derail even the best financial plans you might have. And that simply leads to frustration, and that also leads to stress. So those are some resolutions to think about. Those are some resolutions maybe to, I don't know, do a little editing, find an approach that is mentally and emotionally more positive and more helpful. I've got a lot more resolutions coming up right after this.
Are you wishing for acting success? Are you ready with audition techniques for theater, film, and television? Are you ready with proven methods for growing your talent? Are you ready to boost your business? It would help if you had a playbook to guide you. Now, there's Jeff's Jots, the Actor's Career Playbook by Jeffrey Dreisbach. Jeff's Jots at Amazon.com, CastingActorsCast.com, available in paperback, hardcover, or ebook. Stop wishing and start doing with Jeff's Jots, the Actor's Career Playbook.
All right, we're talking about New Year's resolutions and why they might not be the very, very best choices for you. And so we're at number 6 right now. And I think this one is also quite useful just in terms of the way we approach our new year. Many actors say this to themselves. I know it firsthand because I've heard it a lot from actors. And you know what? I have to say, I've said it myself when I was acting. I'll revamp my headshots. I'm going to update my reel, and I'm going to fix my website by February. Right? Have you said that? Have you? You might have. I know I have. And here's why it doesn't work. You know, it's really great that you're going to upgrade your materials. That's a really good idea. But let me just tell you that actors often underestimate the time and the money and the coordination required to complete these updates. So it often happens that you rush into the process, and that can lead to sort of rushed results. A better way to say that might be kind of mediocre results, or you might have overbooked yourself in these updates. And that can be quite stressful and overwhelming. And again, that is another way that we set ourselves up. And when we set ourselves up that way, we end up compiling disappointments and not enthusiasm for the future. Somebody write that down. That was really, really good, I think. Okay, let's move on from there, talking about New Year's resolutions. Again, these are things that I've actually heard, and my response follows. I'll network with industry professionals every month. Well, here's why it doesn't work. That word networking, I know, freaks a lot of people out. It freaks me out too, because even in my business, I need to maintain relationships with those people I'm working with in the industry. But I've also realized over a lot of time doing it, that networking just simply takes time to build authentic relationships. Therefore, I think it's important to give time. Really allow for those relationships to grow in a natural way. Don't raise expectations for yourself that you cannot live up to. Those relationships and those opportunities just aren't always consistent. And that particular resolution might falter if the actor feels awkward or transactional in their approach. That leads to desperation. And you know, I've done enough podcasts on desperate actors. And so if you haven't heard any of those past episodes, I invite you to do so, because desperation never got anybody a job. Understand that solid relationships take time, and then it's important for you to give time. All right, let's move on from there. Have you said this? I'll memorize a new monologue every week. You're going to memorize a new monologue every week? Well, you can imagine why that doesn't work. You might get busy with auditions or jobs or personal obligations, leaving very little time for this kind of rigid schedule. It can also feel like a chore if the monologues don't feel immediately useful or inspiring to you. So I love the idea of always working on a monologue, always having a monologue in your back pocket. I think that that's just a smart thing to do. It keeps you fresh, it keeps you motivated, and you do it in a time frame that's right for you. By the way, I think it's also valuable for you to make sure that you are choosing monologues that show something interesting about you. It's not just going to the store and getting a book of 100 monologues and just going from page 1 to page 100. Do you know what I'm saying? So be really careful about that. But I think having a process of monologues in progress is a much better approach to make. Here's one. This is another resolution. I'm going to stop comparing myself to other actors. Have you done that? Yeah, I think a lot of us do this. Here's why it doesn't work. It's a great goal to compare yourself to somebody else, but it's very often a very deeply ingrained habit in competitiveness for you. And without active strategies to shift your mindset, you may fall back into comparing social media followers. You might compare yourself to actors who are working all the time or actors who have representation. This is especially true for those who are still in school, whether you're getting a BFA program or whether you're doing conservatory training, whatever it might be. It's so easy to fall into the trap of comparing yourself to others. Please remember, I've said this 1,000 times, it's your uniqueness that is going to book you a job. Not that you are in competition with anybody else. So be very focused on how you can bring your best self to every audition, how you can bring your best self when looking for a monologue, how you can use your very, very best self to decide how much social media is actually useful for you. Or better yet, what classes would be best for you to take next. Having that is an evolution. It is not a choice. It is not a decision. It's an always evolving part of who you are. All right, here's the last one. I've got 10 New Year's resolutions that you might want to rethink. And I've heard this before as well. The actor says, I'll be more confident and fearless this year. Why this doesn't work. Confidence is a gradual process, not a switch that you can flip. You know, part of being an actor is understanding what rejections are all about. So repeated rejections, that imposter syndrome that we have from time to time, or a lot of time, or that self-doubt can make this resolution feel like a very tall order, especially without specific action steps to back it up. It's about action steps. So basically, let's talk about why resolutions fail. Many resolutions simply don't work because they are too broad. They're overly ambitious or dependent upon, external factors. Actors can make resolutions more effective by breaking them into smaller, measurable goals, being realistic about their schedules and their limitations, and focusing on what they can control. For example, instead of saying, I'll book my dream role, try, I'll self-tape consistently and attend 10 networking events this year. See, this approach builds progress over time and really avoids setting unattainable expectations. Listen, I hope that you found this episode helpful. Happy New Year. Take on some resolutions because I think they could be useful, but do it in a very logical way and in a way that you can achieve the success you are looking for. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Jeffrey Dreisbach. You've been watching and listening Casting Actors Cast. Thanks so much.
It's been great having you in our talent pool today. Your support means the world to us, so please consider sharing, liking, and reviewing this episode wherever you jump in. I'm Megan Grace Martinez. Thanks.